They abort their young children. They put their young men in jail because they never learned how to pick cotton. And I've often wondered, are they better off as slaves picking cotton?
Okay, everybody calm down. That's not racist. That's just being consistent. Bundy does not believe in the federal government, so it would be hypocritical for him to believe in the Emancipation Proclamation. And I'm sure he's had a chance to clarify that statement. Jim?
I'm wondering, are they happier now under this government subsidy system than they were when they were slaves and they was able to have their family structure together and chickens and gardens and the people had something to do?
Well, that certainly makes it crystal clear. He left the chickens out the first time. They really tie the whole idea together. The point is, this man is a victim of racism, as is made clear on the Bundy Facebook page, saying, quote, Cliven is a good man. He loves all people. He is not a racist man. He wants what is best for everyone. Okay? He wants what's best for everyone. And he's just wondering if, for some people, that's slavery. Is it a crime to wonder now? And folks, my one regret here is that I did not embrace Cliven Bundy sooner like Sean Hannity did. You know, really draw him to my bosom, to link us inexorably together, to hang him around my neck like some kind of lucky dead seabird. But you beat me to it, Sean. You're good, buddy. You're good. Thanks to your nonstop supportive coverage of Bundy, now when anyone thinks of folks who have insight into the Negro, they'll think of Sean Hannity. I mean, these two... These two go together like coo and clucks. I mean, I salute you, Sean. I salute you for bravely standing by a man whose only crime was breaking federal law.
Oh, God, they are so good. They are so freaking good. Pointing out the obvious. It's a great way to make a living. That's what I've done for, all these years. It's satisfying, I must say, to point out the obvious. And like I said, it must be some strange coincidence that each and every time the Fox News people go on a tear or rally around somebody, they turn out to be, teenage murderers, the murderer of a teenager like George Zimmerman or Michael Dunn or like Duck Dynasty. Phil Robertson is a friend of the show, singing and happy. He said it's his recollection of slavery that, slaves used to sing and they were happy. And when he was working alongside, indentured servants in Louisiana cotton fields, he said they seem to be happier than they are now. They, by the way. And, you've got like Nugent, who's a friend of the show, and he ends up having to be lectured to by Rick Perry, the secessionist. And he has to be told by Rick Perry, who changed his glasses and hopes you forget everything he ever said, to apologize for calling the President of the United States a subhuman mongrel. It's just a coincidence. It's a coincidence that Ted Cruz and Cliven Bundy became so close that if you combine their names, you'd have Ted Bundy. I mean, it's unbelievable. Now all of a sudden they're going to run away from him. They're going to run away and they're going to leave skid marks. I mean, it's like unbelievable to me.
What is your response to Harry Reid?
I don't have a response for Harry Reid, but I have a response for every sheriff across the United States. Every county sheriff across the United States. Disarm the federal bureaucrats. Take the federal United States bureaucrats' guns away. That's my message today. They wanted to show the American people and the world that they had unlimited power, and they had taken over state sovereignty or Nevada laws or public lands.
All right.
You know, listen, do you think they really have taken it over? I don't think so. They might have took over our Clark County Sheriff, but they never took over we the people, the sovereign people of this nation. We're standing, and we're gonna stand until we take the guns away from those bureaucracies.
What would happen if they came in the early morning hours one day to your ranch?
Well, first I got to say, Harry, get your army out of Nevada. Get your army away from my ranch and off the Clark County public land, and keep it out. And if they come, we'll deal with them tonight. If that's what we got to do, we'll just deal with you. Just when you got guts enough to do it, come on.
Well, he also said, Richard Mack, I don't think it would be possible to launch a raid without violence. If they came to arrest you, would you surrender?
I went to the proper authorities.
Meaning?
I don't believe, there would have to be Clark County Sheriff. If he come to arrest me, I would definitely let him arrest me.
All right, let me go.
He's the only man
Go ahead.
He's the only man with arresting power in Clark County, Nevada.
What world do these people live in where the sheriff has more power than the federal government? I mean, it's just so amazing. And, you know, when you talk to this guy, like almost every day, twice a day, like Sean Hannity did, and you hear these answers and this fumbling, babbling, crazy lunacy and this denial of what the Constitution. I mean, don't you say to your producer? Don't you say to your to the executive producer? Don't you say to the program directors? Don't you say to your boss? I'm not interviewing this guy anymore. This guy is making a mockery out of everything. He's making a mockery out of me and this show. He's a loose cannon. He's ready to go off. This guy is ignorant. And no, they just keep on inviting. And then all of a sudden he opens his mouth and says things about, I'm just wondering if the black boys were happier when they were in slavery. This isn't a settled question in his head, and they're shocked, I tell you. Shocked that there's gambling in Casablanca. I mean, it's so sick.
His name was Clive Bundy of Bunkerville, Nevada. If you don't know his story, I think you really oughta. See, back in 1993, the feds demanded grazing fees on public land. The Bundy clan used since the 1870s. State decree from London 1953 grants federal authority over all state public property as stated in the Guadalupe Hidalgo Treaty. But Clive couldn't understand why should he have to pay for land. This land belongs to you and me. That's what he told Sean Hannity. This is the ballad of Clive Bundy. Take it, Clive.
I want to tell you one more thing I know about the Negro.
Okay, that's enough of the song. All right, let's see. Unfortunately, nothing rhymes with Negro.
The Tea Party is tired of blacks, Negras, Muslims calling us racist.
It's such a stupid party. I don't even know that it is a party. It's like a militia movement or some armed insurrection thing. They're just like the stupidest people on the planet, but they're armed. They're really armed. They're armed to the freaking teeth, and they're full of this sovereign citizen, I hate the federal government, and black people thing. It's just so amazing. It's so freaky. Listen, I'm leaving the country, right, tomorrow. Just for a week, and then I'll be back. I promise. And then, we'll finish out the last 2 weeks together. It'll be bittersweet, but it will be, sweet, and I'll be better, but it'll be okay. But, who ever thought that in the 21st century, it was going to sound like that at the end of a beautiful career. I mean, the fact that it's gone so ass backwards is, it's disheartening, is what it is. It's sad. It's really sad. But when I leave the country, listen, this is how it goes. Remember we talked to a guy from Malta the other day? And I asked him, you know, like, how do you get your TV? Because when you leave the country, you don't get, you know, there's Sky TV is basically Rupert Murdoch's answer for Europe. Sky TV. And that's what you get. And on Sky TV, because Murdoch owns it, is Fox News. And the sick part is that's what represents us abroad. That's what people hear. And so think about this. I have to go abroad. I have to go to a foreign country knowing that the only thing that people of this country know about America lately is that we're looking for a plane and Clive and Bundy. Can you imagine it? I mean, I can't wait to see their news. I can't wait to see, like, what's really going on in the world. I bet you anything they'll be talking about World War III and Ukraine and that AIDS is almost cured in Africa, you know, like important stuff, things that actually affect, you know, individual lives. But everything they're going to know about us, everything they're going to know about, you know, Americans is going to be that we can't stop obsessively covering a plane that no one can find in this day and age, and Clive and Bundy, and that he hates black people. And what's really amazing is CNN International is the other news outlet that's in English, and mostly they cover Africa, believe it or not. So these two things are going to, you know, be side by side, where they're covering Africa and that the AIDS crisis is very near the end, and that, you know, they're trying to make it so that no child is born with AIDS by treating mothers who are pregnant. They're getting very close to white. And, you know, you'll see all this really good stuff, and then all of a sudden, you know, you'll turn it over to the other English channel, and you'll see, I hate niggers. It's like schizophrenic. But that's what they know about us, because this is what we show them about us. So bad. 18 after.
A weekend that hasn't gone by that someone says to me, Michelle, what in the world are you all waiting for in Congress? Why aren't you impeaching the president?
This was far more intrusive than what happened in Watergate.
This appears to be just the latest example of a culture of cover-ups and political intimidation in this administration.
What we're talking about here is an attitude that the government knows best. The nanny state is here to tell us all what to do, and if we start criticizing, you get targeted.
I really think it is a culture of cover-ups and intimidation that is getting the administration in so much trouble.
The buck stops at the president's desk.
The cover-up included several officials, up to and including President Obama.
I've worked in this town for over 20 years. I worked in a White House and on Capitol Hill, and I can say with a very strong sense of certainty that there are people very close to this president that not only knew what the IRS were doing, but authorized it.
White House counsel was notified 3 weeks ago that this was coming. Never told the president.
Hold it just a second. Hold it. White House counsel was told 3 weeks ago. The president said today that he heard about it in the media on Friday.
Correct. And the White House counsel statement's going to be he didn't bother to tell the president.
Communist nurtured subhuman mongrel.
It's amazing, the hunting of a president who's done nothing wrong, in fact, has done almost nothing except get a health care law passed, repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell, kept us out of war, ended the war in Iraq, killed Osama bin Laden, got rid of Muammar Gaddafi, all of it, you know, without Congress's help, you know, did a stimulus package when he could, then he lost the Congress, and, you know, we've been sitting here treading water ever since because we have a Congress that actually is rooting for us to fail, is causing us to fail, refuses to help us not fail, only because of the hatred that they have for this president. This is really what spurred all this hostility and racism and ugly talk and the resurgence of the armed militia movement. Oh, by the way, you know, I mentioned that Stephen Horsford is Clive and Bundy's congressman. And Stephen Horsford is the very first African-American congressman from this particular district, and he's just literally out of his mind pissed.
They, like myself, are extremely frustrated by the fact that we have these armed militia in our community. The fact that children in Bunkerville, which is a community of only about 1,300 people, cannot walk around the corner from their home to their school without armed militia on the hills of our community. That they can't go to church on Sunday without armed militia being in or around the church because Cliven Bundy is there and the armed militia are there.
That's sick.
And his comments today do not reflect our community. They don't reflect the majority views of Nevadans or the Western way of life and the way that most of us feel. They're racist. His comments were racist. They're infused with bigotry and hatred, and they belong in the dustbin of history. He profiled the African American community, and it's so ironic and hypocritical because he says that people don't understand his way of life, but yet he would profile and make judgments about another community's way of life. He's wrong, he's racist, and we need to have the armed militia leave our communities.
They really, you know, what's being lost in all of this conversation, because Cliven Bundy is so typical of a Republican talking surrogate, okay? He just is. He's typical of Ted Cruz. He's typical of the elected officials. He's typical of the sheriff, Joe Arpaio. He's typical of, you know, this Mr. Mack. We're going to put the women out in the front, and the whole world will see women being killed. I mean, you know, they're so typical of, you know, who gets welcomed onto Fox News, the freaking Duck Dynasty lunatics, the Zimmerman defenders, the Michael Dunn defenders, you know, anybody who's, you know, willing to call Dr. Tiller a baby killer, you know, inciting all this violence to the point where Dr. Tiller ends up being killed in his church. You know, by some armed lunatic who watches this swill. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's so amazing. But what's really being lost is the fact that this community that has obviously a lot of decency about it. They have Steve Horsford representing them. He is a Democrat. He is an African American. So obviously Cliven Bundy is a Fox News pick or a right-wing lunatic talk radio pick, just like all the others I just mentioned. But it doesn't reflect the community that's there. And the militia, there's 1,000 of them out there. James Yeager, the one that threatened to kill Obama, the one that, you know, put up those YouTube, just Google him, James Yeager, YouTube. I mean, this guy is so virulent, he is so wild, he is so out of control, he is so hostile, and he's willing to die for his ideas, which are bizarre and ignorant too. But there's a militia out there, and these people that live there in this small community, they can't take their kids to school without seeing guns in the street. They can't take their kids to church. They can't take their kids to the store. Well, welcome to Georgia. Welcome to Florida. Hey, Nevada. Hi, how you doing? Welcome to Florida. It's George Zimmerman territory, Michael Dunn territory. But don't try this while black. Ask Marissa Alexander in Florida. There are different rules, you know. I mean, it's so frightening. That's the situation they find themselves in out there in this peaceful part of the country. So, you know, whenever you see people here in Florida walking around in shorts and skirts and all this, they don't have, you know, body hair. And I always wanted to know, how do they do that? So I asked a couple of girls around here, and they said, well, the secret is we all switched to No Pro, and this is something that apparently everybody knew but me. And then I tried it, and it's unbelievable. Switching to No Pro and throwing away your razors and stopping salon treatments and, you know, chucking laser treatments, it's the best decision you'll make because you get weeks, not days, of long-lasting results. It is literally the best way to remove unwanted hair without any pain, and it doesn't matter what you're trying to do, your legs, your arms, you could do it a bikini line, you could do your face, guys can use it on their chest and your back. You will just love how easy it is to use and the professional results that you get right from your home. So ditch the razors, ditch the salon treatments, get rid of, you know, the laser, which is really expensive, and try the No Pro because you'll be really happy. No Pro comes with a 100% 60-day money-back guarantee, and when you purchase, No will give you a $50 gift card for a dermatologist-recommended award-winning skincare line and a free travel case. All you do is go to talknono.com to get these free gifts. Visit talknono.com, T-A-L-K, nono.com. All right, Claire in Madison, Wisconsin.
Hi, Randy.
Hi, Claire.
I I am so going to miss you. And I love your BS news also.
Oh, I got an email today. I'm saving all the emails from these last weeks. And so I got an email today from somebody who's asking me about Duffy, who does all of our news bits. And I just want to let you know, Duffy works for, he's the creative director for WGN in Chicago. The only reason why he does this for me is because he and I have been really close friends for about 20 years now. So Duffy will be fine, is what I'm saying. People are concerned about him.
Oh, good.
Yeah, no,
good.
he's fine.
He's awesome.
He's awesome. Yeah, absolutely. He is.
Randy, it's really fun for all of us to laugh at Clive and Bundy and jerks like Ted Nugent, but they are really dangerous.
Yeah, they're an epidemic, is what they are. And they're like an antibiotic-resistant virus that is invading the body politic. And you get sick once, and you're sick for 2 days. You get sick again, you're sick for 5 days. Pretty soon, the body just gives up. And frankly, this is why they keep picking these people. The more racist, the more lunatic, the more assault weapon-y, the more hate-filled. And you know what? It really did start with Sarah Palin. It really did. She's like the head of the pimple, She is. She started it by saying he pals around with terrorists. That's when the lid came off. The Republican Party stayed silent for the longest. McCain didn't say anything until the woman remember that woman that forgot she had a back of her head? She forgot.
Oh, yeah.
Remember her? She forgot to brush her hair in the back because she was laying down in the lazy boy, and she went to the thing and didn't bother to brush her hair. And that was the first time anybody ever told anybody to shut up about, he's not a Muslim. And this went on and 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 on. You got Joe the plumber out there. He did the same damn crap, You've got all these elected officials now, that do it. Now you've got Greg Abbott. Now you've got Ted Cruz. Now you've got Paul Ryan. Now you've got what's his face? Rand Paul. You've got Joe Walsh, the former Congress member. They gave him a radio show. This is pretty much the epitome of embarrassment for me. But they gave him a radio show, and he's on there. This is the deadbeat dad, Joe Walsh, who never paid his child support. I mean, all these people, and they rally around the Zimmermans, and they rally around the Dunns, and they rally around the Clive and Bundys, and they're doing it for a reason.
Well, this is what I would like to know, Randy. Statistically, the Mormon culture has a far higher rate of using things like social welfare, food stamps, Medicaid, etc.
Is that right?
No. How many kids does he have? 15?
13.
13 and 50 grandchildren. And how many wives?
Oh, I don't know.
I'd love to know how many food stamp programs are involved with this and other social programs that we are all paying for, in addition to the land he's using up.
Well, Clive and Bundy is not a poor man, so I don't think that he qualifies for any assistance. The subsidy that he gets is a federal government subsidy that lowers the cost per head of cattle, the grazing fees, from $12, which is what the state charges, but because it's federal land, he only has to pay $1 and change per head. So he's already subsidized in that way, and he still won't pay the low fee, which is really obnoxious and bizarre. And that he's calling other people deadbeats while he's the deadbeat is so typical of who they are. It's like it goes right alongside the Democrats are the racists. We're not the racists. They're always projecting what they do onto us. But I wouldn't go for the food stamp argument here, because there's no evidence that he gets anything.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Teresa in Toronto.
Hi, Randy. This is first-time caller.
Oh, hi.
Listener.
Hello.
I'm really nervous, so forgive me. I want to comment about Clive and Bundy. Since he likens receiving government subsidies to being shackled like a slave, perhaps he should use that as a motivation to pay his fees
Right. I mean, it's total hypocrisy. Everybody gets it.
And perhaps
and you know now
rate, not the government subsidized rate, the market rate.
Well, the state rate. Well, listen, he keeps saying he recognizes the state but not the federal government. The state rate is $12. The federal government subsidized rate, which is what he's being charged with not paying, is $1. So and it's already subsidized.
I mean, it's just another example, you know, upon millions of examples of their hypocrisy on
exactly
everything.
But you know, their hypocrisy has gone beyond hypocrisy now it's actually into territory that's dividing the country. I mean, seriously, dividing the country to the point where people are arming themselves and listen, they're pointing their weapons at federal officers in full view of cameras. And no one got arrested? I just can't even imagine. Like, what would happen if anybody, besides for Cliven Bundy, anybody, pointed a weapon at a federal officer? And someone took a picture of it, and there were others there doing the same thing, and they weren't Cliven Bundy. Whether or not, I mean, is there a question in anybody's head whether or not they would have been pepper sprayed or arrested? And this all started because one of the BLM guys had his dog kicked. This is what started this whole thing. One of the Bureau of Land Management, the reason why they went in there armed, is because, first of all, the Bureau of Land Management is armed. The whole freaking country is armed. So they went in there armed and prepared because ahead of this cattle roundup, which is why they went physically, they did not go to collect a bill. This is all bullcrap. Okay? They went to round up the cattle, get them off the land, and the reason is because the conservation, there's a biological conservation group that sued to get Cliven Bundy off the land, and they won. So the court judged that they had to be able to enforce the judgment, and the judgment was for the conservation people, right? So they had to do something because the court had ordered it. The court had also ordered Cliven Bundy to pay these back grazing fees. Well, when they went there to get the cattle as part of a court order, Cliven Bundy, ahead of that, told newspapers out there that him and his wife were armed and they were ready to do whatever they had to do in order to stop the cattle roundup. That's how it started. All these militia people were alerted. Tell me how. You're telling me 67-year-old Cliven Bundy knew how to do this on Facebook? Oh, please. Somebody acted on his behalf and, got these Oath Keepers and these militia guys and the James Yeagers of the world with his tactical response company, and all these people were alerted, and they all went running out there in violation of federal law. You cannot bring guns over state lines for the purpose of taking on federal officers in another state. Okay, can't do it. So they're all lawbreakers. Every last one of them is a lawbreaker. All right, so they're all out there. BLM is obviously, there's YouTubes of it. You can go look at it. They're standing there and they're talking to some of these kooky militia guys. And Cliven Bundy's son, one of them, they're out there with their dogs to help them do the roundup, right? And one of Cliven Bundy's sons kicks one of the service dogs. And the BLM guy tasers him for kicking his dog, which is bizarro world in anybody's. I mean, just the fact that you've got German Shepherds and non-lethal weapons, and you're wearing tactical vests, and everybody's armed now. Everybody's armed. That situation in and of itself is so grotesque. I can't even tell you. The sheriffs in the Wild West used to make you check your guns before you entered their town. That was a good rule. I like that rule. But not anymore. And so these things escalate now. They escalate, right? And then the BLM backs off because they don't want to kill anybody. And the sheriff, the former sheriff, he says, I'll put the women in the front. The whole thing is out of whack. Everybody's wrong in this. You understand that? Everybody's wrong. There's no right anymore because the police are militarized, the citizenry is militarized, and the rhetoric is off the hook. But the innocent people in all this are the people who actually live there, peaceful, the other ranchers.
The conservative media and the Republican elected officials who spoke out calling Cliven Bundy a hero when in fact his comments are anything but. And we want the armed militia to know that we want you to leave. That's what the residents told me today. The neighbors of Cliven Bundy told me that they want their community back, that they want it to be back to normal, and that this doesn't reflect our community. And these people are not here to solve local land use problems. They have come with an agenda, and that agenda doesn't belong in Mesquite, in Bunkerville, in Moapa, or any place in Nevada.
That's the congressman that represents Cliven Bundy and the rest of that town, and they want the damn militia to leave. The BLM left, but the militia never did. And the other ranchers are furious.
Some of the ranchers that I met with today and that I've met with previously feel like he is breaking the law, that he's getting special treatment, because we have a lot of responsible ranchers who have paid their grazing fees, who have cooperated to move their cattle to other areas and were compensated fairly for doing so. But because Cliven Bundy doesn't want to follow the law, he is trying to hold himself out as some type of victim here, and it's not reflective of other responsible ranchers who have done the right thing, who have paid their fees, and who recognize the rule of law.
Seriously, this is the problem here, that the BLM, who did go in, over-militarized, if you ask me. They went in, looking like SWAT teams, but they left, and now all that's there are armed militia. And the people who live there are like, we can't go anywhere. We can't go take our kids to school. We can't go to church. We can't go anywhere without having to deal with these nutbags who are armed to the teeth. It's really sick, and it's really twisted, and it's just a glimpse into, what the Republican world in their dreams would look like. This is really what they envision for you, and that's why for years they've been telling you to buy as many guns as you can, telling you that, there's ammunition shortages because Obama's administration is buying up all the ammunition. All this was to get you to hoard stuff. They even have commercials I hear on their radio shows that say, the one most important item you should hoard. Go to my website and I'll tell you the one most important item you should hoard. I mean, it's really sick. Buy fish farms, plant gardens, get food insurance, arm yourself, build a bunker, survivalist gear. This is their wet dream. They want to turn America into a nation under siege by sovereign citizens. And I can't figure out what that is, because to me it just looks like lawbreakers. It looks like people who hate the Constitution. It looks to me like people who hate America. It looks to me like people who don't understand that if they don't like something, they can, lobby Congress, they can give money, they can vote, or they can put together, some sort of political action committee. I mean, I don't understand why they think that they're right because they're hoarding ammunition, they have fish farms and food insurance. I don't know what that has to do with the Constitution or any of the ways that we traditionally address our grievances. I have no idea. But this is their wet dream. This is what, in their minds, in their hopes, in their dreams, in their fantasy world, this is what America looks like. Just a lawless, well, it looks like Somalia, right? Somalia. No government. Everybody's armed. Rocket-propelled grenade launch. The local police have Bradley tanks. I mean, the whole thing is off the hook. It's so messed up. And the people to blame for it are clear. It's clear who eggs it on, who incites it, who sells the gear, who makes money off of it, who's trading in this fantasy, this tyranny that's, going to come because Obama. I mean, it's clear who's doing this to your country. Clear. And because we're law-abiding people, we have to wait till November. But you better show up. 10 till.
I don't recognize the United States government as even existing.
Okay? You can't pay a government if it doesn't exist. especially not with the money that it issued. By bravely standing against the forces of paying your bills, Bundy became a hero to conservatives like Sean Hannity, who turned Bundy's 10-gallon hat all the way up to 11. Jim?
My next guest, Cliven Bundy, is the Nevada rancher waging a battle against the federal government. Back with us tonight, Cliven Bundy. Back with us is the rancher himself, Cliven Bundy. And back with us tonight to respond in a Hannity exclusive is rancher Cliven Bundy. You know, Cliven, I've gotten to know you now over this, as this controversy is unfolding. You and your family seem like really nice people.
Man, Hannity ate up that story so hard, Bundy should have charged him grazing fees. And... Thanks to Sean's sympathetic coverage, armed patriots flocked to Bundy's ranch to defend his rights.
We were actually strategizing to put all the women up at the front. If they're going to start shooting, it's going to be women that are going to be televised all across the world getting shot by these rogue federal officers.
Now, that's not as monstrous as it sounds. I'm sure that we're going to protect the women with a line of children. Okay,
Thanks. So congratulations, Senator Dean Heller, who called Bundy a patriot, and Governor Rick Perry, who rose to Bundy's defense, and Senator Ted Cruz, who rose to Bundy's defense, Sean Hannity, that rose to Bundy's defense, to the Duck Dynasty crowd, to the Phil Robertsons, after he was suspended for saying that gay people and African Americans, were singing and happy in in sharecropper America. Yeah, congratulations to Rand Paul and to all the people that wear racist T-shirts and tell racist jokes and go to tea parties with posters of the president with a bone through his nose and ghostwriters, and be very proud of yourselves. You're tearing this country apart.